Time now for our international press review in the papers. Marion Hembus is here. Marion, where are you going to kick off?
Well, we're starting in Japan, where the G8 is having the last day of its summit, and already leaders have pledged to cut carbon emissions by 50% by 2050. That's been criticised by the emerging G5 countries who want to see that to 80%. Well, Japan on the defensive. The Japan Times has published an article explaining how developing wind energy in the country is actually quite difficult. Now, Japan's wind energy capacity is 13th in the world after Germany, which is the top. The US is the second. But it's apparently far behind Europe and the US as far as this is concerned. Now, according to the title, nature is stifling the wind power in Japan because areas where strong winds blow tend to be on the island's coast or on the mountains, areas where there are complex landforms and where when there's typhoons they tend to be hit. So that's destroying lots of stations, and hence why Japan's not moving ahead as quickly as it could be.
Shame they can't harness all the hot air at the G8. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Carry on.
Well, now moving on to obesity, totally unrelated there. The Figaro picking up on that and saying that it's the new curse on China. Apparently, the average weight in China...
God, they're fat, aren't they?
is increasing faster than anywhere else in the world. And that's more than a quarter of the population as well is overweight, apparently.
It's called a growing economy, isn't it?
Well, this is what it's been blamed on, Mark, yes. And apparently if nothing's done, that could double in the next 20 years. So fast food chains and no cycling to work being put to blame for these increasingly obese people in China.
That's funny because I heard they were trying to get the bikes off the streets of Beijing and ahead of the Olympics to cope with the influx of like 5 million people for the games and all that. So even more people not cycling, getting fatter. Oh no, nightmare.
Increasing problems there. OK, well, now to the Australian, where the Betancourt backlash over media circus is the title, basically saying that the euphoria of Ingrid Betancourt's release from the jungle last week has been tainted by an excess in media hype. The French Senate gave her a standing ovation. She's apparently been elevated to a saint-like status, they're saying there. But some are saying that France has overdosed on Ingridmania. And there's a quote from one of the Le Monde's columnists saying everything else has been forgotten and it suits Sarkozy fine. Basically saying that Betancourt has benefited from a rivalry between President Nicolas Sarkozy and the former Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin, both trying to save her as quickly as possible, and hence why she's now been released.
Wow, okay, complex area that, isn't it? Okay, what's next?
Well, and finally in Le Figaro, which I believe you've got a copy of
this
there.
This is the one we're waiting for, isn't it? All the answers to all those questions. Go on.
All those questions that you asked when you were little. Is it possible for bald people to have dandruff? Apparently, yes. Why is the traffic lane that you're always in never moving faster than the one next to you, even when you change?
That's just the law of sod, isn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently. Yeah. And also, why do the English drive on the left?
Just because they're bloody-minded? I don't know.
The English drive on the left. It goes back to the Middle Ages, and apparently that's because most men are right-handed, and so they used to carry their sword on their left shoulder.
No, I thought it was because they could walk with their girlfriend on their left arm so they could spit in the gutter without splashing her shoes. Oops, that's a bit rude. So it's all about sword hands.
It's all about the sword and the fact that it's good to have your opponent on your right, and so you move towards the left. The question then being, so why do the French drive on the right?
Because they're all left-handers, I suppose. Or...
No, it's because of Napoleon, obviously. All comes back to Napoleon.
About that, is it?
No, good try. No, but apparently it's because he was so clever that he realised this is what the English were doing, and so they thought, well, we need to attack from the opposite side, confuse our opponents, and that way we'll win. So it's all about showing dominance.
That's astonishing stuff, and that's all in Le Figaro today.
All in Le Figaro. Many other questions answered as well.
It must be a very fat copy. I'm just going to lift it up. Marion, thank you very much. It was a really entertaining press review today. Thank you for watching too. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.